Hey guys, welcome to my new episode of my podcast. I have a cool ass guest right now. I've been wanting to talk to her for a while about this subject that's interesting to me, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be interesting to a lot of people. And it's my guest is Lucia. How's it going today?
It's going great.
Yeah.
Another day in paradise.
Cool. Yeah, right in the middle of this crisis, we still think it's paradise. I think we should be thinking that every day. I feel like it doesn't,
We're healthy, we're alive, right?
Yes. The topic of today is going to be being Latino in Chicago, in the city. So I don't know. It's an interesting subject, and I know that every time we hang out, I feel like we talk about, without putting it out there, we have that, I don't know, being Latino has that connection of like, oh, I know what you're talking about.
I know what you mean. I feel you type of, we've been through some similar stuff, or our lives are similar in these ways or not, or our experiences. Maybe.
I'm Mexican. I'm from San Luis Potosí, and you're from?
I'm from Michoacan.
Michoacan. Okay. And I see a lot of people that I know that I have met here in Chicago. They're from Michoacan, most of them.
Yeah.
Michoacan, Durango. And what else?
Guerrero.
I
think most of the friends that I grew up with or going to high school with, they were pretty much all from Guerrero. Out of a group of like 8 of us, I was the only one from Michoacan. I was like, well, I'm the outsider, but
fit in here. Yeah. What part of Chicago did you grow up?
So I grew up in, I always said I grew up in Humboldt Park. So I grew up like borderline Humboldt Park, Logan Square. But being in Chicago, they changed like the boundaries all the time. So now it's actually considered Logan Square.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So maybe back in the day, what like Little Village were all the Latinos, all the Mexican people were living mostly,
right?
And then they had Humboldt Park was it always like Puerto Rican?
Yeah, pretty much. I will say, like, in the small area where I grew up, going to the grammar school that I went to, there was a lot of Mexicans. But yeah, the neighborhood Humboldt Park has always been predominantly Puerto Rican.
Okay. And this podcast, we're going to be speaking Spanglish, so I feel like we could do that.
Excelente.
Me gusta hablar un poquito en español, en inglés, conectar los dos idiomas para la gente que tiene todavía sus raíces y que es muy importante hablar dos idiomas. No sé qué piensas en eso.
Completamente. Sí. Yeah. Lo malo es que, yo siento que el inglés es mi primera lengua ahora. ¿Por qué? Porque la he dominado más que el español. En la high school y de ahí para adelante lo he usado más. Entonces, cuando tengo que hablar completamente en español hoy en día, a veces siento que me trabo un poco o a veces me quedo tratando de buscar la palabra que en inglés la tengo, pero en español digo, ¿cómo se dice esto? Se me olvida un poco.
Sí,
es difícil.
Sí. Es difícil. Yo empecé hablando español y la única razón es que creo que me gusta aprenderlo, pero la razón fue porque en mi casa siempre hablamos español. Entonces en la casa era puro español y afuera era inglés. Pero ahora que ya vivo fuera de la casa de mi mamá, he notado que en la mayoría de los trabajos te piden que si eres latino o si sabes otro lenguaje, creo que te ayuda bastante
especialmente en trabajos donde tienes que hablar con el público, en tiendas, servicio al cliente.
Con personas que solamente hablan un lenguaje.
Sí.
Es su primera
lengua. Esencialmente te vales por dos y hablas más de una lengua. Entonces, es lo que yo siempre le digo. Tengo una sobrina que tiene 10 años y no habla casi español. Y entonces mi mamá no habla casi inglés. Apenas sabe unas pocas palabras. Entonces, para ellas comunicarse, una tiene que aprender un poquito de uno y la otra de otra. Pero yo siempre, cada que la veo, que no es muy seguido porque ellos viven en el suburbio, le recuerdo y le digo a su papá, tienes que hablar español, tienes que saberlo, tú eres latina, tu nombre es latino, te va a ayudar bastante.
Sí, más en el futuro, cuando ya necesites un trabajo estable, te van a pedir que sí hablas.
Viendo tu nombre latino, sí, te van a decir, hablas español. No vas a salir con que no.
Y yo creo que hoy en día es más fácil aprender los dos lenguajes, más por internet, más por mucha gente que habla otro lenguaje que no sea el español y que quiera aprender español. También es más fácil, todo por clases por internet, por clases que te están dando gratis a veces en las librerías, en las iglesias. Creo que hay más oportunidad hoy en día que hace 30 años o hace 20 años.
Hasta 20 años, sí, que tenías que comprar Inglés sin barreras.
Sí, I remember that commercial. It was like, you're watching Univision and then right in the middle of it, they just throw in
Inglés sin barreras.
I think one of my family members had bought the whole thing. Yeah, it was like a big
huge collection, right? Because it was
VHS.
Like VHS,
And it's something that once I guess when you grow up here, you kind of learn both. Like I remember being a bilingual class on third and fourth year. I used to be mixed with only bilingual people, which is Spanish and English. I think that helped me out introducing myself to the country and connecting with people that spoke my native language. I think that was something that...
You didn't feel like an outsider completely, but you also knew that, there was another language you kind of had to learn. And you were a kid, so it was good. That's when you really learn it.
Yeah, that's where the easiest way to... The easiest, I guess... moment in your life where you could learn both languages because it transcribes faster and easier.
Absolutely.
So you say you grew up on Humboldt Park, and you still live there? Do you?
So Humboldt Park, Logan Square. I lived there till I was about 18, and then I left home after high school. I moved out to the western part of Chicago, so by Brickyard for a couple years. And then from there, I moved a little further to Melrose Park for another 2 years. By the time I lived in Melrose Park, it was my early 20s. So I was just getting out there and starting to party. That's what you do when you're in your early 20s and you're single, not married, no kids. So then when I was living in Melrose Park, I was always coming back into the city, and I would literally sleep over at one of my girlfriend's house, and we were partying all weekend. I was also working in the city, so I was pretty much just... physically just going there and sleeping and had my stuff in Melrose. But and then from there I came back to Logan, and that was in 2010 when I moved back to Logan, and it was the best years of my life. It was starting to change already.
That's pretty cool because they had a lot of things open, a lot of bars, right?
Yeah, they were starting. It was starting to. You were starting to see the changes in the neighborhood. There was still a lot of Latinos. There was still I moved really close to where I grew up, so there was still. I remember the little laundromats or the little Chinese restaurant where I used to go get the pizza puffs that I used to love. So that was nice, and I lived there. By then, I was rooming with my cousin who also hadn't grown up in that neighborhood, and it was a perfect mix. You started to see the changes. So I lived there for another 2 years before we parted ways, and then I moved, but to a different place, but within the same neighborhood.
That's what I like about Chicago. Chicago, it's like a melting pot, like a crazy good melting pot, because you can move anywhere, and for sure in the corner you're gonna see an Asian store or a Latino restaurant or Mexican, liquor store or whatever. It's a mix of everything, and I feel really cool about it. When I lived in Mexico, it was a little bit hard to know that, man, I want some Chinese food, and there's only one in town. So it's here. It's a mix of everything. I get to know a lot of people from different countries, and I think that's the main reason I like living in Chicago. I think it's always good because each year it passes, different communities change up a little bit more and more, and it connects everybody more.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. I mean, so right after living in Logan, I moved just a little further north because obviously Logan's has become pretty expensive. It's hipster town now. It's still beautiful. I still love it. It's it'll go with me forever.
Yeah.
Then I moved to Avondale, which is just north of Logan. So I was by like Diversey and Kedzie, and that was where before I moved to where I am now. 4.5 years I spent there. It was like walking distance from the hotspots at Logan on Milwaukee by the monuments there. So it was great still living there because I could literally walk, and you know, as we did a few times, we walked to like the little festivals, which Logan is full of them. So it was still good to be there, but I eventually got to a point where I'm like, I need a change of ambiance, and I've had enough just living there by myself, and
I think
it was
that's
time.
You need a change, right? Every once in a while, you need a good change, and you need to see different community, different. Maybe you could even meet different type of people in another area. I feel the same way where. If I'm stuck at work just for so many years, I'm like, oh man, I don't feel connected. I feel isolated from other parts of the city. So I'm looking, after this crisis ends, I'm looking to get a second job or just to focus. Because I was telling you earlier, I was like, man, this year it's done. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but I feel
it's
like
just going to go by, right? And we're not going to have a summer.
Concerts are canceled. Festivals are canceled. A lot of stores are not going to open. A lot of bars are going to just open halfway. You know, so I was like, well, you know what? Instead of taking it bad, maybe I should focus on the things that, you know, to take it to the next level. Maybe if I want to super save, you know, maybe I should work 2 jobs. And the cool part about us is that we're single. And we don't have a lot of responsibilities. I don't know if you guys, you know, I don't know.
Time not to have kids.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of, I wake up every morning and I'm kind of with a big smile. I don't know. I know I'm going to rub somebody the wrong way, but you got to take your own little blessings your own way, and you know. I don't judge. Blessing. You know, But so I'm like, okay, I don't have a lot of responsibilities. I got a lot of things going on. Why don't I just focus on one main thing? You know, I turned 31 2 months ago, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to focus and go to the next level, and you know, and stop doing the bad habits that I had before, and then just go to because I don't know about you, but every year it passes a little bit faster than the year before, and if you don't fucking catch up,
you're like, what?
Yeah, you're like,
it's summer already.
It's already 2020. It's already 2021. And so this year I already threw it away, and I'm like, I'm just gonna focus on the real things that I'm focused
to help yourself. And that's good. So it's nice to have the time, like you said. You know, we don't have the responsibility of a family, so you get to choose what you want to do with your own time, and especially if you're single, because as soon as you're in a relationship, it's not just you anymore. You got to give the time to somebody else. But you just got to take all of this with a little, like, you know, sense of
like a good positive.
You know. Like it's hard. It's easier said than done. I get that.
But well, the cool part is that you are still working, but at home, but you still got that job, right? So you still got that income, which is really awesome. I feel like if you could, you know, work at home, you should do it, because a lot of people like myself, I'm not working right now, and I'm not struggling. Because savings was one of the big things my best friend had told me to do a couple years back. So I'm like, all right, you know, I could chill. I could chill for, you know, as long as I'm very strict on not spending
dumb stuff
right now. So I'm like, all right, I'm cool with it, but then at the same time, I don't want to pick on that savings, you know.
You don't know how long it's gonna last.
So I'm like, I'm cool, but I still want to work. So hopefully, I mean, they're not gonna reopen until the end of next month, right?
So far, they extended it through March. So keeping our fingers crossed that it's just till then, and it's gonna be like, you know, it's not gonna be the normal right away. We know that. I'm kind of like keeping an eye almost daily, and I know it's not good for me, and I try not to let it affect me, but kind of keeping an eye on like the
news, the politics.
The states that are reopening now, which right now there's 3 in the South. Kind of just want to keep an eye on like how that's gonna go, because and I get it, you know, businesses are suffering and people are getting a little antsy, but it's this is a time where we got to prove that, prove that we're humans and we care about each other, and you have to think of that and stop being selfish.
Well, that's the thing. As being a Latino, I feel like a lot of people are, like, I don't know if you heard, but they're not getting their checks.
They're suffering. Absolutely.
So if you're not getting, if you're not getting that check, they're struggling, and it really sucks. I feel that as a community, we might need to help out, like, to me personally, help out the Latino community. Anytime that you could go to a Mexican restaurant and give that extra $2, $3, $5, $10, because that's gonna help them out as a waitress, as a bartender. That's gonna put in that extra snack on their table.
And keep the roof over their heads. It's just the sad reality is that the ones getting the most affected right now is the Latino community, the immigrant, undocumented community, that they're not getting no stimulus checks for them, no unemployment benefits. So it's really tough.
What I really like about us Latinos, that we are it's weird. So I was telling somebody about this, that as Latinos, as Mexicans, we have very conservative ideas. We're very we're Catholic,
mostly,
Christian oriented. So it's something that if you see somebody that needs help, you go help them out, or the whole family unites and pitches in. Yeah. Well, here in America, it's weird, because if you have that ideology, you're considered Republican, and most of us, if we're here in the U.S., we should be considered as Democrat, right? But because Democrat are a little bit more open to immigration, they have a little bit more ideas of pushing, opening the
services, social services. Yeah.
So it's a little bit tricky, right?
Yeah, I think when it comes down to that, it's politics. It gets complicated, and the bad thing is that it's either this or that. It's black or it's white. There's no gray, and that's the bad thing. I might lean Democrat, but I'm not all the way to the left, and I don't agree with all their ideas and all their policies, but then again, I'm not exactly a Republican. So I think as Latinos, we certainly lean more Democrat, because we kind of need a little more help. As a population, people need to realize that Latinos are, since the beginning, you don't start off with the same privileges. You, in my example, my parents brought my brothers and I, there were four of us, in 96. My dad had siblings here, so they helped us out a lot to get us going. Yeah. So you start off in a new country where you don't speak the language, and you have literally nothing. My parents, for the longest time, they worked the Monday through Saturday schedule forever. And my mom is the type that if she needs money, she's going to figure out how to make it, but she will not let her kids starve. So it was tough on them, but I'm thankful for their sacrifice in leaving their country, and they've come here. And then the way I want to be able to give back is to be able to, like you said, help them out when they're in need. If you're a Latino, and I feel lucky in the sense that, I was able to get a stimulus check. That was nice little help. I'm still working. I'm going to help my mom out because she's an immigrant and she didn't get anything. So that's one thing that I sometimes have a problem with Latinos, and that not everybody thinks about giving back a little bit. And you got to remember where you come from. Whether you're Mexican or you're Honduran, Colombian, we all come from a place where obviously we were struggling. We were struggling, and we came here for an opportunity, or our parents brought us here for an opportunity. You got to remember to help them out when you can. And also, but then think about others that are maybe more recent immigrants, help them out as well. And there's got to be a way, and maybe financially you can't always help them, but when you can, remember that. Throw it in there.
Because it is important right now, this crisis, we don't know what's going to happen, and a lot of people are scared. They're scared that they're not going to have a job, or they're scared if they go to the hospital and get checked, and if they tested positive for COVID-19,
then what?
There's a lot of cases where they're sending them to their country, to their home country. I know you have heard, but everyone's scared. on that aspect. And it's something that it's something important, something that you want to keep it in mind when this crisis over. Help out local stores.
Small businesses. And like you were saying earlier, and I'm a big believer in that. Why? Because I feel like, like you've mentioned in your podcast, I dream one day of having my own small business. Nobody ever starts big. I mean, you don't go from mom and pops to a big corporation. And that's how that's a lot of people right now with their small businesses. They're suffering. So if you can in any way, if you decide I'm going to take this time. Not that I support eating out a lot. I'm one that likes to cook at home. But if you're going to treat yourself, go to your local store or go to somebody's restaurant that you know and help them out, because it's their livelihood.
It's hard, especially when everyone's at home, stuck at home, and they don't want to go out. Those businesses are like, wow, we're looking for you guys, so you guys could.
The few that are still open, right? But then the ones that are closed, once they start to reopen. If you feel like, I know I'm going to be one that will be like, I need to be out Friday, Saturday, Sunday because I'm working all week and I'm staying at home and I'm cooking. But give a little helping hand to those that you can. And by that is like taking your business to them.
Yes.
And helping them out.
That, and maybe, planning a little bit better in the future. I think as Latinos, I don't know, we don't plan as much. And we don't, have savings, and we don't do this and that. And, as a community that maybe we have the mic here to, push those ideas where maybe don't waste it on your freaking iPhone 13 or, maybe save those $800, $900 to emergencies like these. And I feel like we got to stick together and push it out there. I feel that we have to kind of like give a big advice about that, and where you could go to your bank once this is done, start a savings account and just put in $50, $10, $20
every paycheck, whatever. Throw a little something in there. I'm glad you bring that up, because and this is a reality, I think, for a lot of Americans that are struggling right now, not just here in Chicago, and not just, definitely Latinos, because and I get it. It's hard to be able to save when you have a family to feed and you're barely making it because you're stuck in a job that doesn't pay all that great for whatever reason you're stuck there. Or maybe that's a job you like, but it doesn't pay great. Sometimes it's not so much about the money. It's about if you like what you're doing. I totally get that. Yeah. But we do have to think of the future, and we don't know the future. It's always uncertain. So as Latinos, you need to maybe, open that savings account and try to budget better and be like, this is a little something for me on the side in case of anything. And you see it right now with all over the country. People are struggling because, you always hear you should have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved up. Well, for the Latino community who are barely making it by, it's really hard.
Well, I was reading an article, and then my boss was telling me that in America, there is, I believe, like 60% of the population in America only has in their savings like less than $5,000. So that's 60%. Not even for
not.
So like if you get sick and your car accident or something, like that's $2-3 grand right there out the door. So it's very important to watch where you're wasting and how you waste it. I mean, it's easier said than done, I guess. Absolutely. That's and then a lot of other people have other things there, their family, their kids.
Priorities.
So it's a little bit harder, but in the back of your mind, maybe, plan a little bit for these type of situations.
Maybe learn it from this, this crisis that we're in right now. Learn something, and even if that all it is like, I need to save more because we don't know when this is going to happen again, or if this, down the line, maybe next winter or something like this comes back again. You have to prepare for the worst, essentially.
Well, that's where I was telling you that I was watching a documentary about credit cards and how to use them before they use you. So that's a trick. Yes, I think I learned that years back when my best friend gave me the tricks. And I never thought about it until right now. And then I saw the documentary. And I'm like, all right, cool. I've been doing it for the past 7 years, and it has worked. And the trick is, whatever you pay with your credit card, pay it as before the end of the month or before the cycle ends, because the credit card companies are savages. So their point is, in order for them to profit from you, they want you to be late, and they want you to be not pay the whole amount. So,
carry over balances, and that's where the interest come in.
Yeah, so their profit is on the interest, which is really high. I don't know. Sometimes it could be 25%.
I think it averages between 20 to 25, like for the major credit cards,
which is crazy.
Yeah, or the big the stores like the Targets or the Macy's.
Yeah.
So, when you think about it, that's high. 20%.
That's a lot.
Any like savings account that you open gives you like 0.001%.
Yeah.
How does that compare?
To that much. So it's crazy. Like 10 years ago, the documentary that I saw, their average APR interest was about 10, 12, 15%. Now it grew up to 25, the average 22, 20. So that's insane. So on top of that, the interest that you're going to pay for that amount that you spend, now they get you with the late fees.
Yeah.
So sometimes the average is $30, $35, $40. Sometimes it's $50, sometimes it's $25. So the late fee plus the interest, you end up paying something that you wasted $100. You're gonna have to pay that $100 plus the interest plus the late fee, and then whatever fees they have, because the government doesn't they don't really check credit cards as much. They're not as strict, so they could put whatever extra fees, and that's
they
how
they throw it on the fine print, and nobody reads that. And I get it. I think if sometimes you need to use a credit card as like an emergency, fine, but as soon as you're back on your feet, tackle it. I get that. My experience with that has been like, I put myself through college. I'm a dreamer, so I had no government aid at all. I didn't qualify for any financial aid. So, and I knew this.
Out of pocket.
Yeah, you got to pay out of pocket. Now, one thing, I did open credit cards when I was finally able to, when I became a dreamer. You get a social security number that's assigned to you. You're sort of legal in a way. So then when I finally decided I am going to finish school and I'm going to make this happen no matter what, even if that means I'm going to struggle, I made it happen. And while now I'm not proud to say that while I was going to school full-time, working full-time, but I also gave myself vacations, because to me that it was I needed to keep my mental health. To me, and I love traveling, and even if I can only travel within the States, that was what kept me alive. And I'm the type that I like scheduling my little vacations to look forward to something. So
have a goal, have a vacation goal.
And I've read articles where it talks about people who do that. You set a little goal, or you set a goal that's attainable, and you make it happen one way or another. Now, while I was in school, sometimes when I would go on vacations, I would use my credit cards sometimes. I'm not going to lie, I would. But I look back and I'm like, well, I'm not like deep in debt, and I'm very close to paying that off. I've gotten my degree. I also, I think going to college in my later years helped me, because I was way more focused and more mature about it. So I made sure that my GPA stayed, pretty at a good level. And I applied for a lot of scholarships, and I would say scholarships help pay half of the fees for my degree. So I'm also grateful for that. But the other half, you had to do it. So aside from, like, I've been out of my house for a long time, so you have your personal bills.
Your bills.
You're working to pay your living expenses, to pay your degree, and then you want to go on a little vacation to keep yourself sane. But it's all worth it. And again, back to the credit card thing, if you can learn to manage that and not go crazy and not max them out, fine, but learn how to be smart with it, with them, and not let them get you deep in a hole.
Well, that's cool. That's cool that you did that, and then you're learning. I think the only way and to learn about all these little things is when you get older. When as you mature by the years, I feel like you learn. You're like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't even. If I would have known this 20 years ago or 10 years ago, I would have done this and this and that. So I think you only learn by, your experience, and you learn about practicing, and just, the cool part about I keep saying about technology is that we have our phone and we could do research on any subject, so it's easier for us to understand any situation.
How anything works.
Yeah. And it's important for anyone that, you got the internet, instead of you going to social media and putting memes on
all day.
All day. You can put a meme here and there, but if you put memes every day and you're not focused, because it's like a new type of what do you call it, addiction. It's a new addiction where I feel like if you're not, people are telling you, yo, I did this and that, I went to school and blah blah blah, but if you don't learn from those those other people that did it, then you're gonna be behind. And
right, so like you can be on social media following all these people that did all these things, but you're just following them and you're not taking any of their examples, any of their experiences and learning from them. Then what are you doing? You're just following somebody. You're just gonna be a follower all your life. And I know that's harsh for some people to hear, but it's the reality. Take those experiences and learn from them and read about them and be like, well, how can I make this, or how can I make this helpful for me in my situation? And again, it's easier said than done, but if it's gonna be of inspiration, and I'm big on that, I like reading books that are they're like self-improvement and they're gonna give me something to look back and be like, okay, I know where.
Help me out. This open up my mind.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think another subject that I wanted to touch as a Latino living in Chicago, or living anywhere, I guess, the Latino culture kind of puts it out there. As a guy, you always have to be that tough machista type of person. But now, like, I was never that type of guy. I'm more of a chill person, and it kind of sucks that a lot of people think like, oh, you gotta be tough, oh, you gotta be doing this, oh, you gotta, like, no, you don't, man. You gotta be cool.
You're a human being.
I got, I go through stages where I feel a little bit depressed, and sometimes I don't feel good, sometimes I feel good. So as a Latino man on my 30s now, wow, I don't even look 30, so I kind of feel happy about that too.
It's a good thing, right? We have.
We look early 20s.
Good genes.
So yes. Push. I feel like we need this little video, this episode, to just push that
have the conversation.
Yeah,
Mary.
and as a Latina, you don't have to be portraying that Latina like, you're
30. You should be married and have kids.
You should be married and have kids. Like, no, you don't, man. Like, you could build your own. Everyone's different, and you don't have to be on that concept of that conservative positions.
Right. Follow that lifestyle. Yeah. Well, on the subject of machismo and all that. I mean, it's the 21st century.
Yeah.
And you live in a free, again, quote unquote, free country. I think we need to get past that.
Expensive free country.
Oh, yeah. I think we need to get past that. And it is very unfortunate that in our communities, that's a subject that it's hardly ever touched. That, oh, you're a guy, you're a man, you shouldn't cry. You can't talk about your feelings. You should, because you are human. You're a human being, and sometimes you need to let those things out, and it's okay. Now, as a woman, like, that's a guy. Now, as a woman on the other side, you should also be understanding that if somebody's opening up their feelings and expressing them to you, you should not step on their feelings. You should be open about it and admire that a Latino guy can open themselves up about that, because it really is tough. I can only imagine, to have to go against the norm.
Yeah, well, that's what I was telling here in the last episode, where I felt like a lot of times I would go on dates and maybe I look different from who I am in reality. Like, maybe my tattoos or my hairstyle portrays me a little bit different. Someone told me like, oh, I'm pretty sure you like hip hop and rap, and I'm like, nah, I don't at all. I mean, I like the beats, but I'm not into it.
Like, you shouldn't be associated completely with that.
Don't assume it. But I feel like when I would be like, yeah, I like art, man. I like to go to art galleries. I like jazz. I like blues. I like to just have dinner at a fancy place once in a month. I like just really, really, really like specific stuff that it's at some point it not portray the usual. Yeah, I like NBA. I like blah blah. It's those girls that I went and I told them. They kind of looked at me weird. They looked at me like, you're one of those, like you're one of like lame persons. And I'm like, oh shit. And it kind of broke my heart a little bit, but I'm like, you know what, if you feel that it's that, then maybe it's
not the right connection.
But then again, that's just a couple of times, and then the other couple of times where it's the opposite, where it's
relief. It's a relief to hear that about you, who maybe at first, and that's the thing. As Latinos, I think we judge so much, and quick. We jump to conclusion right away. You see somebody that has tattoos, and right away, oh, like this is a little gangster, this is a thug, or a troublemaker. Well, it's maybe they're trying to put their personality out there. Like, this is who I am. This is what makes me me. But yeah, I think Latinos make that. We're really bad at that, and it sucks.
Have you ever felt like the on your side where, you know, like maybe a guy that you're dating or you're seeing, or they're like, oh, well, you're Mexican, so you know you're supposed to know this and that, or you're Latina, and have you ever felt that? Or like,
not really. I mean, I think I've tended to date outside my race a lot, but I think I want to say that I think I do a decent job of like putting who I really am out there since the beginning, so that nobody ever thinks otherwise. Yeah. I already know that I get it a lot, or I used to get it a lot until I had to say something from like my family or sometimes even your friends without meaning to. Yeah. You know, they question like you're 30, you're not in a serious relationship, nowhere near right, nowhere near marriage or let alone kids. You're questioned often as a Latina. But then when you date outside your race, like other, you know, and by outside your race, I mean like usually the American race, you don't see that as much, where by 30 you're already married and having kids. Yeah, you see it, but not as much. They're more open to be like, oh, well, that's not the path you've chosen. Okay. So I feel like my experiences in the dating world haven't been too much like that. I don't think I've caught anybody by surprise. Good. That I can think of.
Good. Yeah. I feel the same way. I at times that dating scene it's a little bit hard. The dating game is hard, even though it's not supposed to be a game. It's a game. It's like a game. Back and forth. I think it's difficult.
Sometimes it's fun though.
Yeah,
but
it's fun.
You get to a point where you're like, oh, come on.
It's like, oh shit, this is the seventh time. Otra vez. Like, god damn it, dude. We're cool. But yeah, I think the concept of not portraying like as a Latino, like, oh man, so you know, what's my point? My point is not to think of the other person
right away. You're putting them in like that little exactly that box. Oh, you're a woman, you're Latina,
so you know how to cook, or you know,
exactly.
You eat, but yeah, everyone's different, and especially here in America, and especially in Chicago, where everyone does everything, you know. So you don't, you know,
you're free to do whatever you want, as long. Yeah. And I think that's great. You should be able to, as a Latino, you should be able to make your own choices, and people. I think, again, back to the judging thing, people need to learn to respect everybody's choice. And that's where our community still fails.
Except if they're Republicans. Nah, just joking.
You should question them.
Except if you voted for Trump.
Well, now you're just weird. No. To each their own. I always say that. To each their own. As long as you're not hurting me or the ones that I love, you do you. And that's fine.
Yeah.
It's totally fine.
Do you, as long as you're not hurting anybody else.
Exactly.
Right? It's just like, you know, you'd be responsible.
And respectful.
I feel, to me, something that how do you say, like, that, like, kind of grinds my gears is stepping on the Latino culture, us Latinos, you know, like people that migrated here and have their kids, and they don't value that culture of being Latino, or their background, and you know, and they don't exercise those good beliefs that we have, right? Work hard, you know, be respectful, respect your elders, you know, that grinds my gears a lot. Where
Absolutely.
I see, like, God damn it, dude, you know, don't put us down, don't bring us down, man. Like, anyone that shows that, I kind of like, I'm like,
I lose respect right away. I think we see that a lot, and coming from being an immigrant, it's so sad to see it when you have people that you have Latinos, maybe second or first generation Latinos here that they don't want to learn the Spanish language for whatever reason. I don't know.
The first generation?
Yeah, like they were born here, you know, the parents were immigrants, so then they're born here and they don't care to learn the language. One, they don't care to follow las costumbres, the traditions. I get it. I'm one that I'm not really big into my traditions, but I respect them. You know, if my mom wants to do this or do that, absolutely, Mom. That's what she grew up with. I consider myself a cultural Catholic. You don't see me going to church, but if one of my friends a couple years ago invited the group of friends to their daughter's primera comunión, their first communion, I went because if it means something to them, then I'm going to be there for you. And I'm going to show that I respect that and that I'm here for you. Because that's what friends do, and that's what you do for your family. You go and you show, if it means this to you, be respectful of that. If you don't agree with everything, fine. But again, don't go stepping on people because they're not respecting or they're not doing everything that you feel is right. So back to that, like, it sucks. I think our traditions, our customs are great. Our culture is amazing. I mean, you have so many people wanting to learn about our culture. Obviously, it's great. It's beautiful. Our country's beautiful. You should embrace that. You should want your kids to still live with that, because you know what? At the end of the day, you still look Latino, and in this country that's, you know, mostly white still, they still look at you and like, well, you're still different. Sadly, as much as you might think I'm the same, you're still different.
You wanna have that in back of your mind, saying like you don't want to push, you want to put that image in back of your mind, saying by meaning like put our Latinos up there, make them feel proud. So, you know, and don't,
because you should be, because whether you're a recent immigrant or you've been here a couple of generations, somebody made a sacrifice so that you could have a better life. Well, make them proud. And keep the traditions going. Right?
Make them feel like, oh, okay, you don't want to hear that, oh, you know, those immigrants, or, you know, those Mexicans are lazy, or those Central Americans, or, you know, you want to put the name of Latinos up there, where in maybe I believe like in 20-30 more years we're going to be the population, the majority. So you want to start that, you want to start with putting our name up there on the top, and not
like we're up, we can measure up. Another to add to that point is like, and I'm a big believer in like knowledge is power and educating yourself. And one way that we as Latinos can unite to become a better, I wouldn't say race because we're technically white, right? Don't even get me started on that. But you know, we need to get to the level, get up there, and this. You know, one thing that really bugs me when I see it so much, and even in my family, the number of people in my family who have college degrees, including myself, we're like a handful. We're just a handful. And a lot of my little cousins or my cousins, they're born here, and they've decided not to go to college, not to do anything good with themselves. A lot of them, yes, you know, most of them are hardworking, but you should want more. You know, your parents came here and had you here. You have that advantage already over somebody like me. You just need to persevere and want to, again, back to the make your parents proud, make your ancestors proud, and become a better, you know, community, better group of people.
Overall, a better person.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And if you're a good person, you're going to raise a good person, because when you have your kids, they're going to look up to you, and you keep it going.
Yeah. And then that's the thing. That's one thing too, that a lot of our background, it's when you're a teen, you already planning to get married and have kids, and it's something that you're like, oh man, you could wait. But a lot of people, they're 18, 17.
They're already thinking about that.
Which it's hard. It's hard. It's hard on that side. It's hard on either side. But if you could plan it a little bit better. Give yourself years.
Time to live.
Time to be happy. Time to be by yourself. Time to do everything. And then once you're done, you're like, all right, well, let me find someone that is already around that same moment,
mental,
and I think I'm doing that. I know for sure. I complain a lot about being single, but
the reality is,
you
enjoy being.
Oh, I love it. And not because anything, it's just because there's freedom there. So, exactly. But now I'm like focused on something that it's gonna push me to the next level.
Yeah. To add to that, I would say, like, okay, we can be respectful of somebody who decides that that's what they want to do. A girl decides, I just want to find the right guy and marry and have kids, and that's going to be my life, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. But, maybe stop and think a little more, way further along in the future, because me being somebody, I'm a very independent person, a little bit of a feminist, sure, I'll throw it out there. Yeah. I really do feel, come on, what do you know when you're 18? What do you know when you're in high school or just getting out of high school? Yeah. Go to college, become independent, and see the world for more than just your little community that you've grown up with. Yeah. And because that helps you figure out, this is what I want to do, or this is what I don't want to do. And if you go out and you live a few years and you party and then you're like, well, I'm tired of that, now I'm ready to settle down, and you're barely like in your early 20s, fine. But at least being exposed, having done it, you can say, like, I crossed that off my bucket list, I've done it, I'm good. Yeah. But I feel like often what we see, and I see this, in people that I know too, is like, people get married so young and they have kids so young, and then 10 years later, they're like, they feel the little itch. Well, I missed out on partying, and I missed out on drinking with my buddies every weekend. So then they're doing it then. But then you have your kids who are seeing that. Well, what are you teaching your child?
Plus, like, you're missing the being mature and taking the steps of learning. Through
about you and what you want and what you like and what you don't like, and how you see your life.
Yeah. Don't think that this is our opinions, right? So just don't ever feel like, oh, these guys suck.
They said this. These are just our wise words.
These are little, I guess, advices that we have that we think that
based on our experiences. I think, right?
Yeah. And it's important to talk about this. And I watch a lot of social media. I never hear these conversations, right? I never hear little things that could help us learn about other people. And that's why I like to connect with people. I like to get to know you. I like to get to know all my friends, because I take little pieces from you guys I think everyone does it without realizing, but I take information from you, from other people, and then I just put them where I
and build your own ideas. And how can they help you?
And then so there's not a lot of a lot of podcasts or a lot of places where you could hear experiences of a Latino or of a 30 blah 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 person, or being as a woman or being as a guy. It's just, I think if we could do that, especially right now that we have free time,
lots of free time,
put it out there. Connect with people. Like right now I'm taking history class, Latin American history class, and I'm learning a lot about what I enjoy, which is history of Latin America, which is history of Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Brazil, a lot of dictatorships, Dominican Republic. It's just
expanding your knowledge that's going to help you see things differently and be a better person about
open-minded.
Exactly.
And I think I don't know if you're like if you ever got in the weeds of Latin America and their history, but it hurts me a lot that a lot of U.S. investors back in the day would treat Mexico, Latin America like their backyard, like they're the last,
the dumping grounds, kind of like, oh well, and we'll make them grow this for us. We're gonna take over here and bring our big businesses.
And it hurts a lot because here you hear in America they're like, oh, those immigrants, those Latin American countries, they're third world countries. But you're like, if you see history, and I would suggest for you guys to search about it, but they fucked over Dominican Republic, they fucked over
like the sugar canes in
Guatemala,
Honduras,
Paraguay. They got involved with Nicaragua, Panama. Like they just fucked over big time. And now those people are feeling it right now. People that have their countries, all destroyed. They're coming here to America to because it was at the end of the day, it was America's fault. And they're blaming them. So
I think it gets really complicated. I don't know a whole lot about the history of that, but I think anytime you start talking about governments kind of butting their nose in, and that's what this country does a lot in our countries, and all over the world. You see it now in the Middle East, right? But it becomes really complicated, and the sad truth is, and I it's sad to admit it, but our countries are very corrupt and.
Capitalism.
Exactly. You can't have, and this is my personal view, you can't have too much capitalism because somebody's going to get screwed over while the other one's making the big bucks.
We see it often now.
Exactly. It's all over the world. And that's where this country has, this country's been what it has been for so many years, a quote unquote world leader, and it has had a lot of power and a lot of money. But the truth of the matter is our countries have been screwed over for so many years, and not just because this country has gone in and try to spread democracy, this and that. But then there's the other side of it is like corruption has been big, and it still is. I think it's also getting here. This country's kind of going that way a little bit. We can see it right now, especially.
We're getting fucked over here. Yeah, that's the word. The bad thing is that the government is getting controlled by the banks and by big corporations, and they pay the lawmakers so much money
lobbyists, to go and
create new laws for them, and it's really hard because. Even anyone that, like an American person that grew up here and their family grew up for decades and maybe for a whole century, and they're getting, fucked over because big corporations are taking over, and they don't give a fuck who they are
stepping on.
They just
pushing off
like,
the road.
We need money, and we're gonna save more money. Oh, we're gonna send our company to another, to China or to other countries where we can make more money and then
pay them less. And
so
it gets complicated when you start talking about that. And I remember within the last few years reading about I don't remember what they were building, a company in Indiana who closed its doors because they took their business to Mexico. Okay. Now, it's taking jobs to Mexico, but then unfortunately Mexico doesn't have those labor laws where they're caring for their employees. And now we are lucky to have that here. Yes, we're very lucky to have more laws that protect us as workers. But then also all these workers that were working at these companies that took their business down south, they lost their jobs. And something that I've impacted me from reading that is I read about stories about somebody losing their job. I think this is when I was reading the Wall Street Journal that I used to get it daily when I was in college.
You were rich? Nah.
Yeah, right. I used to have a student discount. I can't afford that anymore. But you would read about some of these people were people that had these jobs forever. That was it. That was all they knew how to do. Yeah. And then they lost that, and a lot of them were going into alcoholism and depression and drug addictions. And I'm like, that's really sad. When you live in a country that has opportunity, yes, times are changing. And yes, you have these corporations that are making moves. Sometimes, you can as being somebody who studied business, you can understand sometimes why they do it, because they're losing money, because they have to pay a lot, and they look at other alternatives. Not that I'm saying that's a good thing, but you have to realize why they do it from a business perspective. Yeah. And the truth of the matter is, the ones that get screwed over are the workers. You know, they're the little people at the bottom. Yeah. But then when something like this happens, and this is where us as Mexicans, this is where we decided, like, no, well, we can't just stay here and not do anything, and we got to go and find somewhere else. Well, you know, maybe this country needs people who go through that, needs to have that mentality, like, shit, I lost my job, this is all I knew how to do. I need to pack up and go. And not, again, it's easier said than done, absolutely. But you can't throw yourself away to an addiction because your job left you. Well, that is true. Times have changed.
I never thought about it like that. I never saw the perspective. But now that you talk about it, I do feel like all these immigrants that came to this country trying to find a better future, they did that. They were like, man, we're not doing well. We're going to
starve. We're going to die. So I need to go.
And here are people that are complaining just about it. Like, oh, you know, they're taking our jobs to another country, but they're not doing anything, right? Well, all the people that came to America, they did that. That was their principal reason to come here. So maybe that's the next level that you're gonna have to be like
if you're living in rural America, and you hear this a lot, people living in rural America, you know, who depend on a big company that has their jobs there, like Caterpillar did somewhere in southern Illinois a few years ago, where they closed those doors down that was housing like 100,000 jobs. It's tough, and I get it. It sucks, but then that's where you see the big influx of people going into big cities, like, you know, big metropolitan areas like the Chicago area or New York or whatever. But that's what you got to do. You got to immigrate. You got to go. You have to find a way, because you can't let yourself and your family starve.
Yeah, you don't. That's the thing. You want to plan something better for the future, and it's always, you know, I kind of always, what I do, I'm connected in, like, meaning watching news, reading articles, trying to better myself so I could kind of catch whatever's coming before it comes, and
or be prepared. Be prepared to make a move. Absolutely. Like me, personal anecdote, being a dreamer, my mind's already thinking, like, well, what am I going to do as soon as, you know, the Supreme Court comes up with a decision, and I'm already thinking, worst case scenario, this is what I got to do, or best case scenario being, you know, they probably extend it a little more, or they hold off on terminating the program. You have to kind of already have a plan B at least starting to develop in there already. And that's where I feel like people often forget that they get too dependent on maybe a government or a system that they think is going to save them. But the reality is, all over the world today, you can't depend on having a job forever. So you need to learn to improvise and be able to, I got to do something else now, because, you know, the company I was working for so many years either went bankrupt or moved their headquarters down south or something. So you have to be able to jump and switch to something else, switch gears.
Yeah, instead of you know, playing on getting the next phone, the newest phone, or getting the newest car, you know, you want to plan for a better future. I mean, a car, like, to me, like a car, is 40 grand, and you're like, you know,
and nowadays you got credit, 6-7 year loans.
I mean, unless, like, I think, like, the ultimate goal would be, like, for me, buying a house or buying a condo, and something that is like,
it's an investment.
It's an investment, and then just
a car deteriorates right away.
As soon as you step out of the dealer shop, that's it. That's like 10 grand less
exactly
than what it was worth.
That's another thing where I feel like Latinos, we tend to
be flashy.
We're very flashy. We're not. It's not just Latinos. I've seen it in other races, but we're pretty bad with that. We tend to, you know, you drive this flashy car, but you live at home with your mama. You need to reconsider your priorities, buddy.
3 kids, and you ain't paying no child support. That's it.
So you're driving a Hummer that you can barely afford to put gas in, but
it is true. You just want to be, you know, and not just for the system to work, but for you. You do it for yourself, and better yourself.
And keep in mind that this is what I can control based on my circumstances, and this is what I'm going to try to keep things going for myself, for my family, for my future.
Yeah. Keep that decency going, though. I feel like if you don't have that decency, where you say like, I feel like a lot of Latinos are losing that decency. Not a lot, but if you were a good thank you, how are you? That communication. You don't want to isolate yourself because I'm an immigrant and I live. I'm this and that. Like, no, just open up. And have it going where
and that's where and I think in our community you see a little bit of both, and I think it has a lot to do with how you're raised, and like what we were talking about earlier, you should think about lending a helping hand to somebody who's less fortunate than you, because you should remind yourself that you were once there, or that your parents were once there and they needed help, and maybe pass it along, pass it forward.
Yes. Yeah. I think that those are the little things that you could do on a daily basis, and that's gonna help out. And then once you see back 5 years, like, oh man, I started doing this and that, and now it's working. Like right now, like this podcast, I 4 years it took me to start, and and then I was like,
Takes time.
What, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get it going. And I already knew, I was like, man, once I get it going, then it's gonna open up new ideas, new businesses, new things, and you
have to, and I'm glad you finally gave it a shot, because I mean, you got to start somewhere, and even if you fail, you learn from it, and that's what people need to remember. If you decide to go for it and start a business, and if it fails, well, get back up. Dust shoulders, dust your knees, and be like, all right, well, that didn't work, but I learned this.
Yeah. Especially right now with this political crisis against a lot of immigrants. I feel like, what? To me, this Trump has been very, very. It just takes it to the next level. But now I used to panic a lot since the beginning of his presidency. But now I'm just looking at it like, well, you know what?
What am I going to do?
Well, yeah. Like, I don't want him to fail, because if he fails, America fails. Meaning, if he gets into a big crisis, well, he's really not going to pay for it, because then he's done, and then he already has money,
it's
right?
It's just a chair that he was filling in.
Yeah. So who's really going to take it? Well, the average person's going to take it. And
the average taxpayer that are still immigrants. That are still us.
Everyone's going to take it behind, and now... you got to realize, like, all right, man, what can I do to just like be a better planner, or do something that, all this political stuff hurts you, but don't try to worry too much if you cannot control the situation. Exactly. Worry on the things that you could control.
Exactly.
Like saving up, like
planning for your well-being, pretty much.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the main points that I always want to talk about with you. Like, I always feel like you're very smart on those little subjects that we touch. I feel like you're very open-minded. It's a lot of things that I think about it, and I'm like, oh, what do other people think about the little things?
How do people see it?
Yeah.
I think you always just have to approach everything with an open mind, and that's the best thing we as Latinos can do, and be open to different ideas, and not everybody's going to think the same way and agree with us. The racism... let that shit go, man. It's because I can tell you this: Latinos are racist too, and we're often racist against our own communities, against our own ethnicity, and that's so sad. Maybe,
like, I would say, the word of race, maybe discrimination. Like, they discriminate a lot. So, like, I feel like the word racist is taking it to like a whole, like, if you, I think the word racist is just when you really do really bad things. Now, discriminating is something that, it's a word where it's like, you're doing something that puts down a little bit another, ethnicity. So there's a lot of cultural beliefs that you have to, you're supposed to discriminate another ethnicity.
Or you look at them differently because this or that.
We're all here, we're all freaking humans, so we're
all running the same race, trying to better ourselves.
We all have 24 hours, right? We're all
equal in that sense.
Yeah.
Share the same sun.
Yeah. We all take showers, right?
Right? We hope so.
So, yeah, I think you should be open-minded and, be thankful that we're in a country that we have freedom of speech. We have where we could work for the things that we want and achieve them easier than in other countries.
That's true. I mean, it might not be easier than other people, and then that's the thing where you start comparing yourself to others. Yeah. Trust me, I know it's really hard. Yeah. And I still have sometimes moments where I'm like, gosh, I wish I had this or that, but then I me siento and I'm like, okay, relax.
You look back and you're like,
I've accomplished this. Look back and I didn't have that. Now I have this. Now I have my degree and I have doors open for me in different places. But yeah, you definitely keep that always in mind.
Yeah, and I always know that anyone that needs help, there's always help. You could ask a friend, you could ask a family member, you could ask anyone. I think that's the main reason I'm recording episodes, because I want for you guys to know that a lot of times everyone has it hard. Everyone
sometimes we have the same problem, but we're just not saying it.
You're just not putting it out there.
Yeah.
So push it out there. I'm here. You're here. Everyone's just. My whole thing is just connecting with people. So everyone's going through the same thing.
We all have our struggles. Sometimes they're different. Sometimes they're similar. But
don't blame your
adversary. Don't blame that person who doesn't agree with you for your mistakes or failures or whatever.
Yeah. Don't blame the past.
Or the past.
Just be like, okay, I did this wrong. I messed up here. Let me learn from it and let me do a better job and move on. And then don't bring it back like, oh man, because of this 5 years ago, now I don't got, no, dude, like I that's where I feel sometimes where I'm kind of iffy about like with Latinos, with my culture, where they're like, man, I grew up on the blah blah, so no, that's why I am like this. And I'm like, no, but you're 35. What are you talking about?
Don't use that excuse.
No, that's an excuse of like 20 years ago. No, man, it's like, dude, no, like
we see that a lot.
Yeah, I see that often, and I'm like, oh, dude, I just kind of. I don't say anything, but I'm like, dude, don't, because every day you could learn to be that better person. It's like I always hear with a lot of artists, celebrities, where they're like, I think I heard it with Cardi B, which is just not my favorite one at all. But I think someone told me, I think my roommate told me that she said in the video, which. This is one thing that I'm like, oh, okay.
You respect her for it.
I respect her for this, but it's like, oh, when I used to not have money and when I wasn't famous, I used to act all this like big time. Now I learn that when I'm famous and I got a lot of money, I gotta act differently. I gotta be more mature on certain situations.
Maybe humble yourself.
And humble and take it serious. So now's the chance for everybody, especially for Latinos, that let me take this serious. Let me bring down the things that I gotta bring down, and let me put my put that smart ideas out there so I could be better and I could provide a better future
for you, for yourself, for your community.
Yeah.
Agree.
All right. Well, I think we had a great podcast.
A little long, sorry.
Right? Yeah,
we could talk for hours.
Yeah, we could talk for another 5 hours, but I feel like we touched the things that we had to touch. I think we feel like we could do better as Latinos and help out each other, help everybody out.
Yeah, and we the good things that we have, and there's a lot of like great qualities that we have as Latinos as well. We're very family oriented. We're close knit. And I think those are great qualities. But then, look at the not so great ones and address those in a light way and be like, well, I can learn and be a better person.
Cool.
Just be a good person and don't hurt anybody.
Yes, be cool, be fun, and be happy.
Enjoy life.
Enjoy life. And,
definitely.
Enjoy, and hopefully this crisis goes away soon, so we could enjoy outside because we're
summer's
like,
around the corner.
Yeah, right.
It's not gonna be the same, but you know.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll still be able to go to the beach.
Cross my fingers.
Yeah.
All right, thanks guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.